Welcome to the Conscious Tutors Year 4 Maths Overview for the topic of number and place value. Children in this year group need to know their 6, 7 and 9 times tables, as well as the times tables that come before that. They need to be able to count in those multiples, forwards and backwards. They will also need to know their 25 times tables, or knowing how to count in 25s, as well as 1,000. Children will need to be able to find 1,000 more or less than any given number. So for example, if we take 3,045, 1,000 more would be 4,045. 1,000 less would be 2,045. The third objective is to be able to count through and back through 0 into negative numbers. So -1, -2, -3, but also in larger steps. It's important that children get to see negative numbers in horizontal and vertical formats. Children in Year 4 need to recognise the place value of each digit in a 4-digit number. So knowing that in the example, in the example 3,045, that there are 3,000s, 0 hundreds, 4 tens and 5 ones. They will also need to partition those and represent them in different ways. This is a place value chart or place value table, and it's important that children get familiar with this. So in this example, in the number 4,563, children need to be aware that that is broken up into 4,000 or 4,000s, 500, 500s, 60, 6 tens and 3 ones. Children need to be able to use the inequalities more than, less than and equal to in relation to such numbers, and be able to represent these numbers in different ways. So usually we use the cube to represent a block of 1,000s, and then the regular squares to show hundreds. So there we've got 4,563 with the 3 ones. This can also be represented on an abacus type format, again where we can use counters or beads to represent the same numbers. And children may be asked to add 1,000 to a number or take away 100 from a number and show this on the diagram. Children also need to know how to round numbers to the nearest 10, 100 and 1,000. So when rounding to these numbers, there are certain rules that you need to look at. So if we take, for example, the number 3,752, if we're rounding this number to the nearest 10, we look at the ones. Because that is below 5, we round down. So that number would become 3,750. If rounding to the nearest 100, we look at the tens, and that now becomes 3,800, because we're above the 5. And then when rounding to the thousands, we look at the hundreds, and that would become 4,000, because we are above the 7. As well as this, in Year 4, children need to know how to read Roman numerals up to 100 and understand that this has changed our understanding of place value. So the system of Roman numerals is shown here. Children really, it's just something that children need to be able to convert, really. So the number 1 is represented as a straight line down. The number 2 would be 2 lines, and the number 3 would be 3 lines. It changes when we get to number 4. So number 4 is like this, and number 5 is like this. You'll begin to see that there are certain patterns to Roman numerals. So when the ones come after the 5, you add them, but when the ones come before the 5, like in 4, you take away. So that is essentially V, which is 5, take away the 1, which equals 4. Here we've got V, which is 5, but we've got 1 after, so we add the 1, and that equals 6. However, children need to know not just Roman numerals below 10, they also need to know that 20 is represented with the 2 x's. They need to know from 21 all the way to 100. 30 is 3 x's, because obviously 10 is x. When you get into the 50s, you've got L. So that follows a similar rule that 40 is XL. 60 is LX. 70 is L, which is 50, and 2 x's. 80 would be 3. 90 is X and a C, and that's because 100 is C.